What's up, YouTube, and welcome back to Bald Man Reacts. Dir En Grey, DSS. It's been a while since I've done a Dir En Grey album video, and I promised you one back in March. I did not get to it. It's the end of May. So I owe you one. We're gonna do the big one. We're gonna do the tough one. We're gonna do DSS today. I know it's not gonna be an easy listen. I know it's gonna be on the rougher side, but that's okay. I'm looking forward to doing it for you guys. I know you've been waiting patiently. So let's get into the big one. I do have all the lyrics up in a separate window, so I will be getting to that, making sure that I get the full experience here. I have heard several of these tracks, and it's going to be interesting to hear them on a record. I know the production's going to be a little on the iffy side for me, but that's okay. We will take it as it comes. The band is Dir En Grey. The album is Dum Spiro Spero. And the first track is Kyoukotsu no Nari. Here we go. I'm using the playlist from the End Records that's up on YouTube. I will put the link to that in the description below, so you guys can get access to that as well. Especially if I wind up having to pull the audio. We'll see. Well, these piano passages slide into this very ominous and foreboding, dark instrumentation here. I know this is going to be a rough ride. Like the synth tones. I'm not sure what the instrument is back there, but it sounds good. Those chilling co-vocals. No, we're getting a lot of those. It just it puts you on edge. It's designed to do it, and it does its job very well. All right, my friends. Here we go. The next track is The Blossoming Beelzebub. I have heard this one before. It's been a little bit. And I've never heard the album version. I do really like the guitar tones. They do sound quite good. I like the drum accents that Shenya's doing here. Really like the piano. It's interesting that they chose this as their first track. with actual lyrics. Certainly incredibly haunting, incredibly chilling, and just kind of makes your skin crawl. I love how he utilizes that high falsetto like a weapon. It just attacks you with those really high parts of his voice. Really like those guitar lines where the drums are shifting. Nice cymbal usage back there by Shinya. Really love Toshia's bass work here. It's just sitting there under the surface. He's doing a lot of cool little things. It's really interesting harmonized vocals there. The doubling really worked. You know, as dark as this feels, it actually feels kind of pleasant. Big bass swells there. The lyrics are so powerful. I'd really be curious to know what he was thinking when he wrote some of his metaphors here. That guitar accent really reminds me a lot of Korn, like early Korn when they were doing the really interesting 7-string stuff with the guitars and doing those really odd accents. That scream is curdling. And knowing that he does that live and just rips his throat out, it's even more intense. A lot of different textures going on here to really just screw with you, to mess with everything you're thinking and feeling and toy with your emotions. It's very dark, very foreboding. Those piano tones, they're so haunting. It's a really nice change there. I'm not sure what that guitar-like texture in the back is, but I really like it. It just makes your skin crawl, man. That was the Blossoming Beelzebub. That next track is one that I have done. It is a different sense. The first track I've ever done. Track that really, truly started my Dir En Grey journey. One that I certainly wasn't sure of at first, but one that I've grown to enjoy. Really like those pinch harmonics in the riffs here. I'm still never going to be a fan of this side of his voice. Really enjoy the riffs. Do get a lot of that Slipknot and that Korn and that new metal feeling here. Really straightforward D beat. Do you like the way that riff shifts? A little bit, it goes back to that groove. It's a really familiar riff. I love the change there into this big chorus hook. It's one of the things I truly love about what Dir En Grey does. Really nice bass accents here by Toshu. I'm not sure who's soloing here, but I really like the feel of the solo. Very melodic, playing down low. Love the trades here. It's really, really, really good solo. I actually don't mind the production at all. It actually sounds really strong. Really love the accents here as it shifts and changes. Again, it gives you that feeling of discomfort, makes those chills just roll up your arms and down your spine. Really like that snare work here. These hooks are so incredible. Love the way his vocal sounds here, how big it sounds, how much it just grabs onto you and pushes at your emotions. Absolutely love it. Love how it finishes off with those clean tones. How it pulls out. That was Different Sense. Certainly have a different sense of hearing it. The next track is Amon, one that I have not heard. Really love the bass work here. Like that big riff. I enjoy the guitar accents. Definitely get a bit more of that new wave of Swedish death metal feel with these melodic riffing here. Really like that change, that heavy lean on Toshia's bass line here. Like the way that riff twists, definitely gives you that melodic death metal feel. Really interesting drumming by Shinya here. Now he did something slightly complicated and he shifted back into that D beat that he's very, very familiar with. Production here on this track isn't as good as it was on Different Sense, but still solid. Really like this vocal here and this riff. Really, really like these riffs quite a bit. I can't place it, but this is so familiar to me with the bass guitar interplay. You know what? It almost reminds me of Tool. With the bass tone and the notes he's playing and how they're fused, they're written together, really get a bit of that Tool feel. I really wish the guitars had a little bit more balls here. It's just to me it's slightly muddy and it feels sterile. Like I want that dark nastiness that I expect from a Dir En Grey track. Really like the vocals and I like this vocal line, but I want to be hit harder. Really like these riffs. They sound so different from what I'm used to from them. It really does get into that melodic death metal thrash like territory in some of the riffing. And it's something I really haven't heard from the band. All right. That was it. Amon. That was awesome. That was a really good track. The next track is We're just going to call it Dreambox. Again, you get a lot more of that familiar riffing. I like the almost spoken word here. It's a different vocal for him. It's really enjoyable. That was a killer change. Really like the way it went from that riff into these really sparkly clean tones that I love from Dir En Grey so much. Love these riffs. The tones he's getting here almost remind me a bit of Lane Stanley. His riffs have such great movement to them. This is supposed to be dark and haunting, but I absolutely love this. It sounds so good. The lyrics are dark, but just these grooves are familiar to me. It's like I'm back home, and it's with Dir En Grey, and it's awesome. And I love finally we're gonna really hear the articulation in the riffing here, and that's really nice. Like that bend at the end of that riff. I like the drum pattern in between. Actually, really like that shift. It was chaotic. Didn't expect it. It shifted from that into this, and it's awesome. Really like that change of this riff with these cool cymbal accents. I think Shinya sounds really good here. I like what he's doing. Really like those guitar melodies. Huh. That was a cool change once again. Really like this passage. That dry guitar tone back into this riff. I like where they're palm muting in the riff. And that just slight ring they're allowing the strings to have. It's a really good, really enjoyable riff there. And I like the vocal layering and textures. And right as I was really loving it, they shift back into this insanity. It's really cool. It's a different texture, but it isn't insanely bad with all the death metal that I listen to. I hear that and I'm like, ah. Cryptopsy does it a little crazier. That was Dreambox. That was also a really good track. The next track is Juuyoko. Get more of that same feel here from the last track. Bit more of that corn-like riffing here. Those little accents. You know, I used to have issues with the really simple blast, but the more I listen to DEG, the more I just get used to it. Really like the vocal on there. And it's interesting when they do go into these heavy parts. It really, the more I listen to it, I realize it really is the vocals that really add the chaos to it. I mean, the drum beat is pretty, it's pretty straightforward, and the riffs are on the simple side. So they're not really chaotic. It's certainly not death metal or technical death metal chaos. But it's the vocal, what he does vocally, that becomes chaotic for me. I really like how they're going back into these riffs. Oh, I like that change. I like that lead going over it. Definitely get more of that melodic death metal influence again. Really like this passage here, that big groove with the different vocals, the low to high going on. I like this shift into this big soaring clean here. That soloing over it is awesome. Like that big harmonic there at the end. That was Juuyoko. The next track is Shitataru Mourou. More of those really familiar grooves here. It's interesting. These tunes are definitely faster, or not faster, but shorter for the most part than some of the others than I was used to off Araki. Rarely like the groove in the vocal here. Really enjoy the guitar melodies here. Get a definitely get a bit of that In Flames feeling. I think those deeper, darker vocals actually really work here for coloring. Really like that bill that Cindy's using here. And those vocal accents really add a nice feel to it. But these riffs are tasty, man. They just sound really good and they're really enjoyable. I really like that guitar accent there. It really adds to that mood and that edge and that discomfort. Oh, that's a killer bass accent. I'll tell you what, Toshi's ability is on display all over this record. He is putting out some inspiring bass work here. And all over the tracks that I've heard so far. I like that vocal chant there. It's a really, really cool choice. Again, with those really interesting, like falsetto vocals for coloring that he likes to do. That was Shitataru, Mourou, and the next one is Lotus. I do believe I've done this. I'm not sure. If I have, correct me in the comments. So let me know. You guys keep track of this better than I do sometimes. Certainly having a bald moment. Like that groove to this riff. Again, with those really impressive harmonies and accent lines. Do you get more of that corn-like feel with the way they're utilizing these guitars? And with the bass and the drum locking in the way they are. Really cool harmonics that Toshi is doing at points. You're right, I have done this. A big chorus, those big guitars, and these piercing vocals that just pound away at your emotions. They just grab and pull at you. This stuff like this is truly makes me absolutely love this band. I like that shift. Really like the slap like feel getting on the bass. Really like that wah drenched harmony line here. Or goes to this style of vocal cadence a bit. I've noticed over the years or over the albums, and what I heard similar vocal patterns, and I really like it. I really love that he uses that higher range. I really love that subtle piano back there. Really like the vocal. Love that bass movement. The atmospherics back there, the ambient textures are really, really pretty. And I say that, and it ends. That was Lotus. The next track is Diabolos. Actually getting through this pretty quick. Feels pretty good, man. It really does. I know this has been one that people have wanted me to do for a while. So we're there. Really like the textures, that deep piano, the subtleties going on, and those little cymbal accents that Shenya's laying in there. It's a big Alice in Chains like riff. Big deep bends, nice bit of grit and dirt. Definitely right out of the Jerry Cantrell playbook. I like it. I like it a lot. I love the bass tone they're getting for this. Slightly distorted, really rumbly low end. I like that big bend. Again, that definitely gives me a lot of that Alice in Chains like feel. Really like those really simple guitar accents. That bass work is incredible. It's really, really impressive. Really phenomenal solo here. Really impressive feel. Definitely get more of that Swedish melodic death metal feel in these riffs. like that vocal, the way they're punctuating these changes. Really piercing scream. Takes me a little bit to get back into the connection after some of what he's doing vocally. And that just very dry, straightforward blast. But when he hits those piercing wails here, it's like a lightning bolt back into my emotions, and it just pulls me back into connection with the track. Really cool cymbal accents once again, and I really like this shift here. I like the ambient textures. Really subdued guitars here. I like the tone and like the little feedback things the guitar players are doing. Oh, that vocal really reminds me of Lane. Like how they're building onto the riff, adding those guitar textures over top of it. It almost sounds like a hurdy-gurdy. Really like that texture. I love that minor third harmony. The doubling. Really nice walking feel to that riff. Surprised how clear the drums are. This doesn't sound like the other mixes I've heard of some of the tracks off this record. Let me know if there's something different about this version. Really like that riff. Change back into this melodic passage is very, very smooth. I love how the riff just accents his voice and this really beautiful vocal passage. Love those ambient textures. Again, that pulling at those heartstrings. Really, really nice vocal there. Like the piano's coming in. I like how they're using a B organ sound there. I like that downstroke chug there to finish it out. That was Diabolos. The next track is Akatsuki. A lot more of that choked, palm muted riffing here. Some really cool accent stuff going on. They really tend to lean on this style of riff a lot in this record. I really like that bass line and almost jazzy like feeling to it over these really haunting guitar lines, or under these really haunting guitar lines anyway. Really like the movement and those textures. They do really rely on that a lot here in this record. Oh, like that high vocal again. That was cool. That spanky like texture and back into this big grooves. Really nice cymbal work. Like that big growl offsetting the melodic vocal. Big roofy textures. All right, that was Akatsuki. Our next track is Decayed Crow. Been looking forward to getting this one. There's the pig squeal again. In a way, he kind of reminds me of John Tardy. I don't feel like he even sings half the time. He just makes aggressive sounds. and writes lyrics. Really good movement in these riffs. Really straightforward drum sections to get here. But I really love what he does, what Shinya does symbol-wise. Some really interesting accents going on. They're really subtle. Definitely adds to that chaos. I like that dissonance there in that riff. Definitely get more of that melodic death metal. It's a good shift. Really interesting imagery here in the lyrics as well. Gotta be one of my favorite records that I've heard, or favorite riffs that I've heard so far. Really cool textures going on here. All right, that was Decayed Crow. Here comes my nemesis. This is Hageshisa. Certainly have a history with this one. This really does sound like a different mix that I've heard before. Really like the vocals. The cleans here just sound really good. But the whole mix sounds, honestly, it sounds sterile. It sounds cleaner than the album mix I heard before. I mean, riff wise, it's really familiar Swedish melodic death metal riffing. With just that straightforward blast that Shinya likes to use. I certainly prefer the vocal on the live. It actually sounds a bit better to me. But overall, I actually really got to enjoy the track, even though the riffs are a bit repetitive. I like that change and that shift into the clean there, right at the very end, back into this big vocal passage. You really get the In Flames, Dark Tranquility, and the soil work with this riff. Do you like the shift into that gallop and then the shift back in this drum pattern? I like this break, and I like the accent guitar work going on. Again, when they do that, it really does have that corn-like feel, which is kind of interesting going over a melodic death metal framework. To me, this part, this chorus, truly is what shines, what makes this song really, really special, is the chorus. I mean, every time I hear the riffs, all I can do is think of In Flames, especially off of the Jester Race and the Horacle records. They're just that familiar. But I've grown to the point where I really do enjoy it, especially after watching that live when they're just having a blast. And now every time I hear the track, I think of that live, and I think of Ko trying to put the mic in Shinya's face, or not Shinya, but Toshiya's face, and Toshia looking at him like, "Oh, I'm supposed to sing now." So I've got a really happy memory, and that's where I go to when I hear this track now. Oh, Vanitas. I fell in love with this track the moment I heard it the first time, and it's been a while, and I've never heard the album version. This one's special. This one's incredible. I love those clean guitar tones. I love the power in his voice here and the emotion. Beautiful, clean, clear bass tone. Really like that guitar tone there. Oh, this is what gets to me. So pretty. So beautiful. I have not listened to this one in entirely too long. There come the Dust Ninjas. Been waiting for that. Damn, that feels good. Big, strong bass tones move my heart. Pulls away at me. Feels so good. Love the way this solo comes in here. Nice trade off. Really love how they're making sure to feed you that emotion here in the solo and keep up just how good the track is. I like that tremolo work here. Love how that bass line change. It's almost jazzy. Really like that guitar line there. Love, love, love this passage. It's so pretty. Such powerful lyrics. Pulls at you. It makes you rip every last shred of emotion, and it's just, ah, what a track. By far my favorite of the record so far, which should come as no surprise to those of you that have watched me go through my journey. Really like the vocal there. Pulls away at you, man. That glorious 5 minutes and 28 seconds was Vanitas. I've never heard the album version. It's been far too many months since I've listened to that track. That was beautiful. The next track is Ruten No Tou. I hope I said that right. If I didn't, I'm sorry I screwed it up. That big familiar groove. The riffs are very similar to what you've heard before on the record. More of that melodic, that Swedish melodic death metal feeling here. I like that big band though. Like those little guitar accents once again. There's a lot of subtle things going on again. Like these riffs and that cadence. Clearly they're building to something. What are we building to? Well, like the layering of these vocals again. Big bends, huge chorus. Like that pick scrape there. I like those guitar lines building away, increasing that emotion and that discomfort. Beautiful moving bass lines. Love the vocal layering, which is another heavy lead on those big In Flames like riffs. Really like the piano here. No, it's not piano, it's just guitar riff. Some really cool keyboard accents there. Like the atmospheric and those ambient textures. They were there just briefly, but that fleeting instant. All right, that was Ruten No Tou. Now, this version of the record, what they're calling it, what the end records is calling the Dum Spiro Spero Deluxe, has two additional tracks. It has the first is the Rasetsukoku Rearranged. Not sure if I've heard this track, to be honest. Those big familiar grooves once again. Really like the bass lines there. It's interesting that I'm using Lyrics Wikia, and the genre they give it is avant-garde metal. It's quite interesting they came up with that, but I can see it. The big heavy riffs, actually really enjoyable here. Get a very Seven Dust like feel in these riffs here. That harmonic, these big down tuned riffs. Like that, how locked in the picking hand and the snare is. That drum line's just too simple for me, but I really like the groove. Like that bass, once again, Toshio really adds such another dimension and more depth to this track. Oh, I like the movement in that riff. Really love that bass line. Great bass work there. Really nice shift. It drops into these ringing chords. Really just gives all that space for Ko's vocals to do what he wants them to do. Really like that riff. That's really cool. I like a little bit more of the double bass going on. I like that pattern. The only thing is, I can't really hear it. It's just a bit too low in the mix. The biggest complaint about the drum sound is you don't get enough of the kick. You hear the snare a lot, but you don't really... When you do hear the kick, it isn't the sound you just heard. It's that really triggered, clicky kick sound. Good shift into that riff and back into that main riff. It was actually really good. And the last track on the deluxe version here is the symphonic version of Amon. I know this is one that a lot of you wanted me to get to as well. So, I get to do Amon twice. Outstanding. I was hoping this was like the acoustic or the symphonic version of the final. I think it was. Clearly, that's what we're going to get. Really pretty. Really like those symphonic elements here. Really, they really do give you such a different feel with these symphonic versions. It's musically, it's like a completely different track, and it's very impressive. It's one of the things I truly appreciate about Dir En Grey. Okay, so it's gonna be it's gonna have the symphonic elements, but you're still gonna get that heaviness. Gotcha. Thought it was gonna be more of an acoustic. I do like the additional textures here. Though, I gotta be honest, I feel like these big symphonic elements here, I feel like they're honestly distracting. They're mixed a bit too high and too forward in the mix for me. I feel like they're drowning out the riffs and the other elements. They're even really conflicting with Ko's vocals. The mix on this one really feels disjointed. It just doesn't feel like a cohesive mix for this track at all. Still like the riffs, still really enjoy the track. And I do really like these riffs. I like the piano work, but Do you like how the synths are working with the riff? That's a really cool touch. Really love that riff. Just that nice bend in there adds such a great touch. It's great texture. That's going to ride this track out, and that's going to be the end of the record. Holy crow, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dir En Grey fans of all ages. We just got through the deluxe version of Dum Spiro Spero. All 16 tracks of it. And I've got to be honest, I love the hell out of it. I really did. And I didn't expect to like it. Honestly, I expected it to be a really hard listen. I expected it to be difficult. I expected it to be really draining. And I don't know if this is a different mix than the tracks that I've heard before. Like, when I first did the rather divisive and brutally honest Hageshisa video, the mix sounded different to me. So I don't know what that mix was. The stuff I've heard before off the record was a bit muddier and had less clarity. So I'm not sure if this is a different, if the deluxe version has a different mix on it. Please let me know. I did not check to see the differences in the versions before I decided to select one. I just said, "Oh, Leon Records has it up. It's their it was off their label, so we'll go ahead and we'll do the ends version." So I'm happy with it. Got 16 tracks out of it, but I wasn't sure. You know, so many of you have talked about me wanting about doing Orboros and have voiced your feelings about DSS. I know Robert said it was a really tough one for him to listen to. So I expected this to be a hard listen. I really did. And having heard several tracks off it, having heard Hageshisa, having heard Diabolos, having heard Different Sense, which is the track that started this whole adventure down the rabbit hole with Dir En Grey and Facial K in general for me. And having heard the incredible and still my favorite track on the record, Vanitas, I expected it to be a really hard record. But I don't know if part of that is the mix. The mix here feels very sterile. It feels very clean. I'm still not a huge fan of that clicky kick sound. There's points where I want more grit and more dirt out of those guitars. I want to be knocked on my backside. I want to really have it feed and overcome me with that put me on edge. But I don't necessarily get that, and I think that might have lent to the listening experience and made it easier to listen to. because the mix on this doesn't feel as muddy. So I'm not sure, and I'm really puzzled about it. So I know one of you guys, or many of you guys and gals out there, will set me straight. It's a really enjoyable record. It's an enjoyable listen. Now, listening to it, the heavier stuff does have a very blatant new wave of Swedish death metal feel. So you do get that melodic death metal, and specifically the Swedish brand of it: the Decayed, the Inflames, the Dark Tranquilities, the Soilworks, and so many other bands that I'm not going to go through and list, but you do get that sound. You certainly get a lot of the Inflames in there. A lot of the riffs, the heavy riffs they lean on are sound very similar to Inflames riffs. So I'm a huge fan of new wave of SDM, new wave of Swedish death metal. I have been for, I don't know, 14, 15 years, ever since I heard Slaughter of the Soul by At the Gates. So I've been a big fan of it. And I guess well, that's not 15 years, it's more like 20 plus years, 20, what? I think I first heard In Flames and At the Gates in 95, 96, so 20 plus years. But I'm a fan of that style. I love that riffing. So it's easy to lock in on that for me. And even when I don't like some of the vocals, I can just lock into those riffs and groove and kind of not pay attention to, and not really focus on the vocals as much. And then, as I said in one of the tracks, that piercing scream just kind of pulls me back into it. And, oh, I get to feel again. And it drags me back into the track. The emotional connection gets reestablished, and I'm good. There's some really strong songs. There really is. There really are. And it shows the evolution of my journey through this band from December to now, when I first heard Different Sense. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. To me, it just sounded like simplified extreme metal. And I had to kind of put that bias aside. I had to put the fact that I've been listening to extreme metal since the late 80s, early 90s away and go and realize that yes, I've heard similar stuff, but I needed to not compare it to what I'm hearing here. And that was one of the things where I couldn't get into Dir En Grey at first. When friends of mine were getting into it, was I think part of it was the way they tried to sell it. Oh, well, it's really heavy, it's really extreme, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, I just got done listening to Whisper Supremacy by Cryptopsy. This isn't, it's not the same. You know, it's not nearly as chaotic or insane as what I'm currently listening to. So I had to put that away and examine it from a different point of view. And the more I have, the more I enjoy it. And I had to go back and look at, listen, or read some of the conversations I had going into doing the Hageshisa video. And I think part of it was I felt it's like I was getting pushed, and oh, you're not. This is something you haven't heard before, and you need to hear the extreme stuff. It's because it was being sold to me in something in a way that, like, it was going to blow my mind, and it was going to be something that I hadn't heard, and it was so extreme, and it was so dark, and it was all of these different adjectives, and because of that, I went in. I think I went into it with a bias that I probably shouldn't have, and I completely admit that that's my mistake. But putting all those biases aside and really trying to listen to it without bringing in my history with metal makes things so much more enjoyable. And honestly, I've done Araki and I've done DSS now, and I gotta say, DSS was such a more pleasant listen, and it's not what I expected. Araki was a tough listen for me. I had to get through their last couple tracks on it. It was so powerful. It was so emotional. It was so deep and dark, and it was pulling at me. And I was drained by the end of it. I listen to DSS and I'm energized. I'm. It's the complete opposite. I'm amped up. I'm pumped. I've got these great feelings going through my body. I don't feel like I've just been beaten into submission. It's a really different feeling, and I'm trying to put it into words for you guys, but I can't. Thank you. Thank you guys for walking me through this incredible journey over the past several months and being so supportive with my my trip through Dir En Grey, because I think this was the record I thought was going to be the hardest. And it was just such an easy record to listen to. It was so enjoyable. I think part of that does harken back to, as I said, my love of new wave Swedish death metal. So that actually made it easier. Really enjoyed several tracks. I enjoyed the record as a whole, but the tracks that stand out right now, Blossoming Beelzebub is the one track that really does give me that on edge that I expect, that on edge, uncomfortable feeling. This version of Different Sense does not sound like the version I originally heard. I liked it. It was a great tune. It was so enjoyable. Really, really loved it. Going Down, I mean, I loved that. I loved the first 4 tracks. I love Blossom and Beelzebub. I love Different Sense. I loved Amon. I love Dreambox. Juuyoko is pretty cool. Shitataru, Mourou was a really solid track. Lotus is amazing. Diabolos is amazing. Akatsuki was really good. Certainly enjoyed Decayed Crow. I do look forward to doing all those versions of that at some point. The more I listen to Hageshisa, the more I like it. But as I said, after seeing the live, I'm always going to think of the live and just watching the band absolutely on fire and just lighting it up, feeling it, going crazy. I do prefer his vocals on the live. I think that was off tour 16-17. I know plenty of you have seen the video that I did for it, so correct me and let me know in the comments which video that was off of that I really enjoyed. And the one where where Ko sticks the mic in Toshia's face, and Toshia kind of looks at him like, "Oh, I'm supposed to sing? Oh, oops!" And they have that really cool laugh together. But I enjoy the track. It still, for the most part, sounds like an In Flames track, or kind of a slightly dumbed down In Flames track to me. But I don't have nearly the issues with it that I did originally, and I enjoy it more. That big chorus is truly what sells me on the track. That big vocal, the vocal layering, and the impact that he has coming in and out of those chaotic passages and those In Flames-esque riffs. And, well, Vanitas is Vanitas. Vanitas is one of the tracks that truly sold me on the band, along with Venushka and, oh goodness, there's a couple more. Behind a Vacant Image, and I know I'm leaving a bunch out, but I'm having a ball band moment. I'm sorry. And the album closes out really well with Ruten No Tou. Of course, getting the additional 2 tracks is very cool. I might have shifted it around. Actually, I might have. If it were me organizing the record, I might have closed out with Vanitas. If they're gonna put it that close to the end, just leave you on an emotional roller coaster of a note and go out with that. But overall, it really was a great record. And I know the end of it here has been a little long and I've been rambling a little bit, but I really appreciate it. This has been kind of an epiphany here. I truly did not expect to enjoy this record as much as I did. and I'm honestly going to go out and buy a copy of it, and it's going to go on the iPod, and probably wind up listening to more of it down the road. I certainly will be doing a review on it at some point. Gonna start getting to more. Gonna start doing more album reviews once I get monetized. So expect a lot of those, and expect a lot of visual key records to be covered as well. Because you guys are such a huge part of this channel, and I truly appreciate it. I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it surprised you as much as it surprised me. That I enjoyed this truly as much as I have. I know this is what a lot of you wanted to see me do, and I'm glad I was finally able to get to it for you guys. Thank you so much for the support over the past, 8 months or so, I think. Truly, truly, truly appreciate it. Truly love you guys. Thank you to my law enforcement, military, veterans, and first responders. As I finish recording this, it is officially Memorial Day here in the United States. So I love you guys. And sacrifices are not in vain. As always, you have been awesome. I have been Baldman. I will see you in the next one. Be excellent to each other. And keep it bang.